Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marley, and if you're new to my channel, I do movie reactions, TV show reactions, and trailer reactions. So if you haven't seen any of my other videos, then go back to my channel and you can find everything there. Today you'll notice I have a different background. My office that I usually film in has some electrical issues, and whilst I'm waiting for that to be fixed, I'll be filming here. I wanted to do a video today to talk about Band of Brothers because it's the main show that I'm watching at the moment. I feel like there's so much to talk about and there's just a lot going on in the show. And I've had so many comments from you that I thought it was good to do a video to discuss what's happening so far and how I'm enjoying it and what my expectations are going forward. And I just thought that this could be just like a little extra video that you might enjoy. So if you do enjoy this video, let me know in the comments, hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed, then please consider subscribing and you won't miss any of my future videos. So firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to all of the people who take time out of their day to leave comments for me, and the information that you've given me on Band of Brothers has just been amazing. If I was watching this show just by myself, I would still enjoy it, but I wouldn't get all of the information that you're giving me. I wouldn't know all of the specifics about not only the war but the characters, and also how people really were affected and how people were really treated. And I can tell from all of your comments how passionate you all are about this, and I know every time I put a new video up, I'm just going to get loads of really amazing facts and telling me what's historically accurate and what's not historically accurate, and I really enjoy that. What I'm going to do is split the video up into parts, so we'll talk about each episode and then my overall feelings at the end. If you haven't watched Band of Brothers and this is the first video you've come across of mine, I am currently reacting to all of Band of Brothers. So far I have uploaded episodes 1 to 4 and I'm going to be doing 5 to 6 next. If you don't know anything at all about Band of Brothers, it's a TV show from the year 2001, so over 20 years ago now. It's the story of the Easy Company, which was the 506th Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division of the US Army. It's dramatised, but also it is a true story, and it has a lot of the actual real men interviewed at the beginning of each episode, and then when we watch the show we're seeing those people and the people that they knew and worked alongside and fought alongside in the show. Each episode is split into its own little story, but we have some of the same characters throughout, so far anyway. And it is a TV show that was made by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. The first episode, Kurahi, is where we first get introduced to a lot of the main characters and just an introduction to the Airborne Division and them being introduced to what their roles are going to be. And we see what happens when they jump out of the planes. It's basically Easy Company going through their training underneath the leadership of a captain who could be considered as very strict, and sticks to the book. But from the comments that I got, I think that in hindsight he's doing what he has to do, because the situation is such that they need to be told. They need to be put into the situation where, because it's such a life-threatening situation and such a serious operation, he's doing what he has to do to get them through it. I'm not going to do any spoilers in these mini reviews of each episode in case you're watching and you haven't seen them, and I highly suggest you go and watch it if you haven't. But it's all about the introduction and their training and them first experiencing jumping from the plane basically into war. So the demanding captain, Soal, is played by David Schwimmer, and he's really good in this episode. Comes across as very strict, very demanding, and that's what the character is, and he does it really well. It causes them to not particularly like him. He has some pranks played on him, and I think that in his perspective, he probably thinks he's not there to make friends. He's there to make sure that they are trained correctly and that he wants them to do the best that they can. Something that I've been told in the comments is how most of the actors in the show are actually British and they are using American accents. However, David Schwimmer is obviously American, so he's one of the few American actors who's in the show. But something that I've noticed about the show is that I recognise so many, but there's some people that I think I recognise, but I'm not quite sure where I've seen them, who would have been in other shows and movies over the years. It's obviously been like a step up for some people, got their names out there before they went on to being in other things. So overall, this is an excellent opening episode, and it sets you up to know sort of what to expect in the show, the themes, some of the characters, and it's just a really great episode. It really pulls you in and you instantly become enthralled with the story and the characters. Then we had episode 2, which was Day of Days. This one is where the Easy Company paratroopers jump behind enemy lines. Now, I got confused watching this one. I didn't know that they were purposely jumping into enemy lines, which seems silly now thinking about it. But you let me know in the comments about it, and it makes sense now that they were purposely jumping in. So I thought they were jumping and then they were just accidentally falling in behind enemy lines, and I was really worried because I thought, oh no, they're in danger, they've fallen into the wrong areas. That was where they're meant to be, that they were meant to be behind the enemy lines. This was in Normandy on D-Day. So I think on that episode I was saying how I was thinking back to watching Saving Private Ryan, and what a lot of you were saying is how Saving Private Ryan being a completely different story, whereas like what a lot of you were saying is how this is all genuine and it all really happened. And so watching it and you know that these things have actually happened to those people, it's just mind-blowing that these things, you're watching a dramatized version of people's real life events. In this episode, like I said, they jump into enemy lines, but then some of them, the way the episode is, the way the story in the episode goes is that some of them end up really far away, and so they're all trying to meet back up. They're trying to get back to a rendezvous point, being led by Lieutenant Winters, who is one of the best characters in the show. He's one of the main characters, and he really keeps them together. I think he's really good at leading, and I think from reading your comments, he's definitely a fan favourite character. He's one of the people being interviewed as well at the beginning. What happens in this episode is that Winters ends up having to take control because the commander is missing, and it's just another great episode. The first one portrays the training and the introduction. This episode portrays how they work together and how things can go wrong and how they can remedy what's just happened. Just another really, really great episode. And you really get the mood of the story through this and the plot. Something else that I noticed is that the episodes are very fast paced. I was finding that I was watching the episode and it felt like it'd only been on for about 30 minutes, but they're actually an hour. It's so fast paced that it makes you feel like you've been watching it, like the time just passes so quickly. And that's down to the directing and the editing and the story just moving along really quickly, and also the intensity of the scenes. That's something else that I've noticed about the show, that it's just really great to just watch episode after episode. And I feel like if I wasn't reacting and I was just watching it on my TV on my own, I could probably just binge the whole show within one weekend, because it's just so watchable and it moves so fast. Something else that is really interesting is they don't hold back on the carnage and the realism. They really show what can happen in war. And again, like I said, just like Saving Private Ryan, I know I keep referring to that, but I feel like they are quite similar in their tone, and they both have Steven Spielberg involved in them. I think that the realism and the tone and showing exactly what happens when there's battles happening and how the different ways that people can get hurt, and even people who aren't part of the war, and you see the civilians in their homes and passers-by. I really enjoy that aspect of like the realism of it. Now we're going to get to the most recent episodes that I've watched, which is Karentan and Replacements. So I did this as a double episode in one video. So episode 3, Karentan. This one, I think so far has been my favourite episode, because this one was more psychological, looking at the psychological effects on one specific soldier in the episode called Blythe. In the comments, I've been told that they made a historical error in this episode. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. They tell you something at the end and it's not accurate. So I know that now. So if you go back and watch that episode, my reaction to it at the end is something that I reacted to before I knew the truth. This one I found very interesting. I enjoyed the fact that they delved deeper into the psychological aspect of war and what that can do. The episode itself is where the troops are taking on Germans in a French town called Karentan, and that's where the name of the episode comes from. We are following one soldier who is very traumatized by the entire experience that he's going through. For Private Blythe, it's just too much pressure for him. So overall, I think that episode 3 was my favourite so far, and I think that the people who made the show dealt with the psychological aspects really sensitively and did an excellent job of portraying the human side, the mental health side. And then the last episode that I watched was episode 4, and that one was replacements. So this is where Easy Company are sent to Holland. This is for Operation Market Garden, and we see just a completely different place. Easy Company turn up and there's loads of celebrations. They're really happy to see them because they have been occupied by the Germans. So they don't expect that to happen, and there's just loads of happy people wanting to hug them and kiss them. It's just a really good episode. I really enjoyed seeing just a different location. The episode is called Replacements because we've got the more experienced soldiers who've been to Normandy, and then you've got the new, fresh soldiers who haven't experienced this yet. And it's very interesting where they're showing the two different types of people alongside each other. So one who's already seen the horror of war, and then the other people who haven't experienced it yet. I just thought that was an interesting route to an interesting aspect that they wanted to explore in this episode. There was also a bit where we're seeing some things that happened to women during the war, which I found very shocking and I didn't know about, as a result of them being occupied by Germany. What they're doing in Holland is that they have to seize the bridges to create a route for the Allied forces to come through, and that's what their job is in this operation. It's just another really enjoyable episode. I enjoyed the different scenery, the way that they're working together. There's a lot of battle scenes in this episode, like there are in others, and I just really enjoyed it. There's just some really unforgettable moments in this episode that recreates historical events from the war in Holland. One of the best aspects of the show, and particularly in this episode, is how they show the bonding of the soldiers between each other, and I really liked that about this one, that it really showed that aspect. The next episodes coming up are episode 5, Crossroads, and episode 6, Bastogne. The show is just so good so far. I can't believe how amazing it is, and I'm definitely going to be watching the Pacific at some point. What I want to do is get to some movies, they're on the list, and some of the movies that I want to watch, and then I will jump into the Pacific, and after that, Masters of the Air. And I just hope that both of those shows are just as good as Band of Brothers. I feel like it will be. I have no reason to think otherwise. Let me know in the comments what you thought of my views on this today. I know this was more of a chatty episode and the background's different, and I hope the lighting is okay, but I just wanted to chat about it. I really wanted to talk to you, and let me know in the comments, do you think the Pacific is just as good as Band of Brothers, or is Band of Brothers like top tier? Either way, I'm really looking forward to watching that as well. If you enjoyed this video today, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to my channel yet and you enjoyed watching this video, please consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.